So I want to get the full story. So was the camera upsetting you and you kicked it? Were you not paying attention and it fell over?
No, it literally just fell. Like it just fell backwards, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So
you know what? That's fine. We're gonna work through the broken camera. If you don't know,
I'm like, what camera do you use? I'm so curious.
I use, so I've got 3 different ones that I use.
Okay.
So I use which I'm not using today. I can't find it, but it's a Canon something. It's down below me. I'm not going to reach because I don't want you all to see me bending over. And then my iPhone and my MacBook.
Yeah, so, I use my iPhone a lot too. I'm like, nowadays, I'm like, the cameras on phones are like just as good as anything else.
If you have what I have, which is the 13 whatever.
That's what I've got too.
Yeah, exactly. The cameras, it's so much better. So, but I've got the one, like when I try to do like the wide range cinematography, the faded out backgrounds, I use the Canon, but I rarely use that one. I'm quite happy with this. I think if I find one that kind of blurs me, it's actually a little bit better for my look. Maybe I could switch. I'll take your camera and you can have mine, because I'll just put my face right in there where that crack is. But that's not what we're here to talk about, Taylor Mathis. When I was going to say but now you're from more places. Right? Because we're on the Fan New York radio. We're going to be on the Fantasy Television Network.
Yes.
And before that, you were also from.
I am still with Superbook.
And still with Superbook. Perfect.
Yes.
And so at T Math Sports. I'm going to say, I want to say Mathis but T Math Sports. Are we still calling you the Prop Princess?
Yes, I'm still the prop girl, still the prop princess here.
Still the prop princess. Okay. There was someone I mentioned that I'm having the prop princess on this week, and he said, "Did she get the okay from the prop queen?" And I had no idea there was a queen. So
Ariel,
I didn't know about the hierarchy.
Ariel is the prop queen. She dominates, and she is so good at what she does. So I'm like, any tips, tricks, advice, I would take anything from her, because she does an absolutely amazing job.
All right. Well, this week on Crunching the Numbers here on the Fired Up Network, we're going to do 3 things with you, other than make fun of your camera. We're also going to we're going to get some prop bets for baseball, because Crunching the Numbers is not just about football. We're going to talk baseball. We're going to later on, when basketball starts, we're going to talk basketball. Obviously, we're going to talk football. So we're going to do some prop bets for baseball, prop bets for football, excuse me. And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I think I only have like 5 games.
Okay, I love
teams, the spread, and we're going to get you to make your picks, but don't worry. I tell everybody these 2 stories. One, a couple of weeks ago, I had a couple of comedians who I was in a TV pilot. I don't know if you know that, a comedy show. So the 2 comedy writers and the director and producer came on. They know nothing about football. I asked them where they thought the Rams were from. They said Maui, and they made their pick. So you can't do worse than them. I will tell you the bar is kind of high, because I had my mom, who's never watched a down of football, who's, a nice, beautiful immigrant from Greece who barely speaks English, and she went 13 of 14. So you got to be careful.
Wow,
she did set the bar kind of high.
That is very impressive.
Hey, listen, when her thought process was this: well, a bear is bigger than an eagle, so I think it would win.
So hey, if it worked, it worked for her.
It worked. Yeah.
You go with what works, and you stick with it.
Yeah, I might have to bring her back on this season, because I think she beat everybody last season. So she might take over my job. She might be the new host. But let's get to baseball, because I don't talk a lot about baseball.
I love it.
I've had a love-hate relationship.
Bread and butter.
I've had a love-hate relationship with baseball, because as a kid, I really did like baseball. And because I grew up in Toronto, and everybody would, Blue Jay fans. So of course I had to go against the grain and not pick I picked the Montreal Expos, and I got rewarded by them not having a franchise anymore. So I started to fade out of baseball, but I still like baseball. So I know that you have a couple of prop bets for us for baseball. I've never bet baseball. So tell me a little bit. I know.
Never.
So help me. Never.
Okay, well, this is going to be really fun then, because I've got a lot for you. The Cardinals are in first place in the NL Central right now, and they're going to be taking on the bottom of the barrel Cincinnati Reds. So give me Cardinals southpaw Jose Quintana today for over 3.5 strikeouts. Quintana is due right now in this spot. He has gone under this line in 3 straight, but he's hit over in 6 out of his last 10. So there's something there. He's averaging a little over 4 Ks. The Reds played Quintana to his strengths this season. They don't go well against lefties. They have the 6th worst K rate to left-handed pitchers, and that's gotten worse over the last 30 days for them as well, dropping to 3rd. Cincy has a bottom 10 on base percentage. It's at a 308. So I'm going to take Jose Quintana for over 3.5 strikeouts tonight for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Over 3. I'm writing this down. I'm actually making these bets. So,
Yes, I love it. Write it down.
I need some wins. All right. So
we need winners.
The Reds used to be so good when I watched baseball.
Not anymore. They're definitely bottom of the NL Central. The Cardinals and the NL Central is my favorite personally because I'm a big Cubs fan. We sit at the bottom of the division though this year as well. The St. Louis Cardinals right now have a 6-game lead over the Brewers. The Brewers are trying to sneak their way into an NL wild card spot, but they're 2 games back from the final spot in the NL. So it's kind of up for grabs for them with about a month left in the regular season. But I'm pretty sure the Cardinals are going to come away with the NL Central division. So the game doesn't technically have a lot of weight holding behind it, but I like to pick props in games that don't have a ton of weight. Makes them more interesting to watch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny. I tried to be a Cubs fan because, as you can tell, I think I told you before, I'm a Bears fan. So it just kind of made sense.
Yes.
So maybe they're not my second team, I guess. If I ever get back into baseball, since Montreal doesn't have a team anymore, I'll be a Cubs fan. All right. Pick number. What do we got? The second one.
All right, I got one more for you. This one's going to be in the Rockies Braves game. I'm going to grab Colorado starter Ryan Feltner for under 14.5 outs. He's hit this under in 7 out of his last 10, and Feltner is horrible on the road. 0-3 record, ERA at a 6.19. He's gone under 14.5 outs in 4 straight away games. And the Braves are one of the best teams in the entire league. Top 10 in batting average and top 10 on base percentage. Feltner is only averaging 13.7 outs a game in 2022. And there's great value on this under as well. Feltner under 14.5 outs at plus 125. You can get it at. So I love that play too.
You're hitting me right where I like it, which is stats. I love, people always tell me, why are you betting this? And I say, well, and I do the same thing. They lost 17 straight road games by less than 3 points. And they're like, you're crazy. And I'm like, I love it.
That's how I got that. I feel like, especially when you bet props, looking at stats and where trends and things lead tend to hopefully give you more winners. At least that's been my experience with sports betting in the prop market so far. And I've actually been extremely hot over the month of August. I have only lost now 6 prop plays that I have given out all month. And obviously day to day, I give out quite a few different plays. So I have been on a very good hot streak. I'm at like 80% winning, I think, over the month. So
that every time we book you on the show,
I don't curse myself today and end up giving us losers.
Because I was going to say this, the last time you were on the show too, you were on a hot streak. So maybe it's when you book your time here, it motivates you to do better. So keep that in mind. We might have to do this more often. So 2 questions there, because you mentioned about, I love the stats. I love the data. So if I can ask, where or how much time do you put in to find all these stats? And what do you know? What do you look for? Like, is it specific things you look for, or just you look for trends?
Definitely. No, there are specific things I look for. It depends on the sport. With baseball, like I said, which is one of my favorite games to watch. I'm the biggest baseball fan ever. I love capping it as well. I really focus on, for myself and my brand, are pitcher props. So I like to look at K props, outs props, and hits allowed are like my top 3 areas that I go to and look for. When I mostly cap K props, biggest things I look for are probably their last 10 starts, where they're at on this line, if they're hitting the over or the under on that line. That's a big thing that I look at. I look at their average, and then I also like to look at whoever their opponent is for the day, where do they sit against lefties or righties based on K rate throughout the season, as well as walk rate and on base percentage. I would say those are my 3 stats that I look at when I'm looking at the opposing team against a specific starting pitcher with strikeouts. When it comes to outs, I obviously look more at the average of how long that starting pitcher has been on the mound. Well, they are starting games throughout the year. That's a big thing to look at. And then looking at the opposing team as well. How well do their batters do to try to maintain getting pitchers off the mound early? So that's another stat that I like to look at. It definitely varies by sport to sport. When I cap football, I think it comes a lot down to how many touches a player is getting. There's obviously a lot more injuries and stuff that happen in football as well. So you're looking at that injury list for the week too. And you're like, okay, maybe because, Deebo Samuel is out this week for the 49ers, somebody else is going to get those touches, get those passes that normally he wouldn't get. So maybe I go over on George Kittle that week because he might get more takedown passes. Who knows? I'm very interested to see what happens with the 49ers this season anyway, because I think their storyline's very interesting going into the season.
What do you mean by giving the job to Trey Lance before they figured out what they were doing with Jimmy Garoppolo and then restructuring a contract with Jimmy Garoppolo?
The whole thing is weird. It's crazy. I'm anxious to see what comes out of it because I feel like the 49ers fan base, they're some of those people who are such diehard football fans and die hard to their franchise that they have to dip their toes into every single little thing that Shanahan is doing or the organization. So I'm interested to see what people will think because of course you've got these people who are already talking like Trey Lance is our guy. And I'm like, you guys have barely even seen him play, but that's just my opinion. And then you've got the people who maybe are the Jimmy Garoppolo stans like me. I like Jimmy G. So
why do you like Jimmy G?
Well, couple of things.
Because he wins. He wins games. I know he wins games.
Yes. No, I think my biggest reason actually of why I'm a big Jimmy G fan is the fact that he went to Eastern Illinois University and he is from Arlington Heights, which is not far from where I grew up.
Okay.
So I feel like I got to back a Midwestern Illinois boy. It's like, I got to do it. And I love that he played backup for so long to Tom Brady. I mean, he watched the best ever in the game play your position. And San Francisco fans that are like, well, he gets injured all the time. He is injury prone, but he almost took you guys to a Super Bowl last year. And you're still complaining you have more faith in a rookie quarterback that played for North Dakota State. Like, what do you really even have to go off of? I think it's ridiculous. They even moved up to 3 to draft Trey Lance, in my opinion, because I think there were better quarterback options. But hey, do what you got to do, San Francisco 49ers. All the best.
Listen, having lived in San Francisco, I know a number of fans that have
emotional damage.
And there's not much you can do about it. So, but I didn't know about the Illinois connection. So maybe I'll give Jimmy maybe I'll give him some more. I'll give him some more love because that is a team that I want to see succeed. So before I get into the football prop bets, I do want to ask you a question, not necessarily betting, but since you watch baseball a lot more than I do. So my Toronto Blue Jays have this thing of late where they do really well against good teams and then they stink against bad teams. Is that a trend that I don't know how much you follow the Blue Jays, but as a baseball, is that something we've seen a lot from them?
So I would say
when you do your prop bets, maybe is that something that you see, like they play to their level of competition?
The Toronto Blue Jays are an interesting team because I do think that's been a familiar trend with them all season, the ups and the downs. They are a team too that there's a decent chance they will go to the playoffs, but they're in such a tough division. The Yankees lead the AL East. And then you've got them, coming up short behind, but they're most likely going to have to grab a wild card spot if they're going to do it. So I don't think if we're going to be real, the Toronto Blue Jays are not winning the World Series. There would have to be something crazy that happened for them to win.
A lot of people picked them though early in the season.
It's
their lineup looked good on paper.
They did, but a lot of the teams that are coming out on top now that everybody knows are the contenders are the Dodgers, the Braves, the Mets, the Astros. I would say those are the top 4 teams. And a lot of people aren't as high on the Yankees. The Yankees were the best team in baseball for majority of the 2022 season. They've really fell off the wagon here in August. A lot of people are not backing them now heading into the postseason because they're like, the Yankees are doing what the Yankees have done over the last couple years. They start out very hot. Now, ever since they got rid of Joey Gallo and traded him to the Dodgers, they haven't been so great anymore. So a lot of people are kind of falling off the wagon of wanting to stick with the Yankees. So I really think those 4 teams have cemented themselves as the 4 best to win the World Series. But you never know. We'll see. I personally don't think the Braves go back to back. I think it's very hard for a baseball team to go back to back and win a World Series. It hasn't happened in 21, 22 years. So I don't know.
Would it have been my Jays in 92, 93? Not my Jays. I told you who my team, was it my hometown Jays, the last team to go back to back?
No,
that would have been 30. No, that would have been 30 years ago.
It might have been. I'm trying to think. I know it's been at least 21 years. So since a team has gone back to back. So
probably the Yankees.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
probably.
You don't have to answer this. I'll ask the question. If you just say no, we'll move on. How do you feel about the Astros winning the World Series and being caught and getting caught cheating? Should they have done more to them because they got caught cheating to win the World Series? I know it's touchy for some people, so you don't have to answer.
No, it's not. I'm not touchy on it at all. I think, and I'm not super touchy on it just because I don't have a strong fandom towards the Astros, and I don't have a strong fandom like towards the Dodgers either. So I'm like, honestly, I love a lot of individual players throughout the league, but the Cubs are my pride and joy. Okay. And
so had the Astros beat the Cubs, would you feel different?
I would be furious then. I would be furious and more would need to be done. But in all honesty, with being realistic, when I look at how leagues in general handle different, I want to say some off-season, some off-the-field situations, as well as a situation where it's a cheating scandal like this on the diamond, I think there needs to be a better set of rules in place in each league. Things need to be more unified and more uniformed as well to really determine, okay, if you cheat, what are going to be the exact rules for suspensions or firing certain coaches, or do they get their title stripped of them? Types of things like that. But then I look at a situation like the NFL is dealing with, Deshaun Watson going from a 6-game suspension with 20 plus, sexual assault allegations against him to then now an 11-game suspension. It makes me slightly scratch my head on where all these leagues stand with, I guess, where their morals and values are of where they're going to hold players and organizations accountable in different circumstances.
Well, it's like if it affects the league and the on the field play, like Calvin Ridley betting, that's a no-no. You get a year. If it's off the field that isn't directly related to football, we'll do what we can to make it, make us look good and then get you back on the field because you're talented. That's what they've done, right?
Yeah, I have a bit of a problem with that.
I'm not disagreeing with them. I'm saying that's what they do. I'm not saying
yes, no, right. You're 100% right. I just think I look at it from a way of even me, like being in broadcasting and working in sports, you have those idols that you look up to, right? That you aspire to be like, or you want to, get to the place that they are at some point, elevate yourself in your career. I just think there are a lot of kids that, watch the NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, all the leagues and aspire to be like these athletes. And if you can't put your best foot forward in your job, but then also do the same off the field and prove that you're a good human, why would you want, as a league, why would you want to represent people that don't hold themselves to those standards? Yeah. Money comes into it, obviously.
Listen, I agree with you. I was very vocal, especially about Deshaun Watson, but I can also not understand, but I know the difference between what's right and what I would do and what they're going to do as a business, which unfortunately isn't always what's best for the people.
That is true.
If you're catching us in the middle of this, we're with the Prop Princess Taylor Mathis, who got really mad because she got 20% of her picks wrong and she kicked her camera. That's where that hole is from. But she got 8% right. So I don't know. You should be very happy about that. Now let's move on to the football. Let's move on to some football. How many prop bets do you have for us for football? Because these I need.
Prop lines actually haven't been released
yet. They haven't been released yet?
For week 1 games. Yeah, I have a couple futures picks that I like.
Let's get some futures. Okay.
That I can give you. So I'm going to look to the NFC East, and I'm partially doing this as a biased homer because I am a big Cowboys fan. So I'm going to take the Cowboys to
I wish I had a boo. I don't have a boo button.
You don't have a boo button?
We
don't need it anyway. We don't need the boos. We want cheers and woos for the Cowboys. There we go. A lot of people are hot on the Eagles going into this season now.
Especially after their most recent trade.
Exactly. People think that the Eagles are going to be able to compete in the NFC East with the Cowboys, or as a lot like to say, the NFC least, because there's not a whole lot of competition in the division. But I think the Cowboys still will take this. You can actually, and there's a boost on this as well, over at Superbook Sports, we boosted the Cowboys from winning the NFC East from plus 140 to plus 160 now as of yesterday. So you can go bet that odds boost. They did it courtesy of me because I'm such a big Cowboys fan. But, a lot of people are interested to see what the Cowboys will do because they did not fill a lot of their offensive line holes this offseason. They really struggle on the weak side, the left side. Tyrone Smith just got injured, left tackle for the Cowboys. So that's going to hurt them, obviously. But they did go out during the draft and get Tyler Smith. That could help the Cowboys out. Now, I know that doesn't make an immediate fix to that position, but it does help the weak side a little bit. So I do think that that's going to help the Cowboys. They've obviously got more offensive weapons, in my opinion. Dak Prescott last season threw for 4,449 yards. Jalen Hurts, next best quarterback in the NFC East, threw for over 1,000 yards less than that. Dak has more weapons offensively as well with wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. I really think he's blossoming into a wide receiver that we're going to see sticking around in the league for a long time. I think Tony Pollard is coming off of a season where he had 169 touches. That's the most of his career. I think that's only going to increase this season, his workload as a running back and as a receiver. And then Michael Gallup hopefully will be healthy and return by week 5. Then, of course, you got Zeke as well. So the run game will still be strong. I don't think that the Eagles will be able to catch up with the Cowboys. And I don't even have much to say on the Commanders and the Giants. The Giants,
it's a 2-team race.
Impressive move is their changes to their coaching staff. People will be interested in that. And then the Commanders went out and got Carson Wentz, but I am not a big Carson Wentz fan or a Carson Wentz believer. So I don't think that there's going to be much improvement from Washington either.
Okay. Your fandom definitely showed.
Did it?
Like me, who is saying my Bears were the preseason champs, 3-0. We beat the Chiefs. We looked really.
I think that's the highlight of our year. A lot better than people are expecting them to be this season. So.
Well, considering most people have them winning 3 games, like they could win 6 and be double that win total. So
exactly.
Look at the positive.
I personally think that the Bears aren't going to be that bad. Like, I just think there are a lot of other teams in this NFL season that are going to be a lot worse than them. I think you look to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think are going to be a great team. The Seahawks look absolutely terrible now without Russell Wilson. So I don't think they're going to be that bad. The Jets aren't going to be great. The Giants aren't going to be great. So I don't think the Bears should be placed so low on the totem pole. Because I think
because they're playing, because they're in the NFC, I've said this to everybody. Look, I'm being realistic. I have them at like 5 wins. But I have a hopeful side because when I look at the NFC and I see, well, there's the Rams, the Bucks, the Packers. Like, there really isn't a lot of.
Wait, I think you just forgot the Cowboys.
And the Cowboys, yes, of course, and the Cowboys. Of course, the Cowboys. So, but there's not a lot of where when I look at the AFC, you've got the entire AFC West, you've got the Bills, you've got the Bengals, the Ravens. There's so many. There's probably 10 teams fighting for 7 playoff spots, whereas in the NFC there's like 4. There's the 4 division winners, and then the rest is pretty open. For the most part, San Francisco, we just talked about, but who knows? They've been riddled with injuries the last couple of years. The Seahawks are bad. Minnesota, I think it's going to actually be, I think Minnesota wins the NFC North this year.
Really?
Yeah. The Lions aren't always that great. Is that a hot take? I think, well, maybe. The
I think it's a hot take.
Carolina's not good. Atlanta's not good. There's so many bad teams too that I think everyone's got a shot. Yeah.
I just think you're right in the sense that the AFC is definitely more difficult. Like, I mean, I think the Chargers are a team that are going to sneak up and be very good this year. I think Justin Herbert's just going to get better and better. I think now you've got to look at the Broncos too. They could be a lot better now that they've grabbed Russell Wilson. A lot of people are not hot on the Raiders. I think
I'm very high on the Raiders.
With Davante Adams, I think there could be magic there. So I think that whole entire AFC West, and of course, I mean, you've got the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens. Geez, when you really go through the teams, there are a lot of contenders in the AFC, as where the NFC doesn't have as many teams that are as hot as them. People
at least expectations. Arizona, look, someone's gonna win them, right? But the expectations aren't as high.
People in Arizona right now, we went into last season. The Cardinals started out as the best team in the NFL, and then they get to their last 5 games of the regular season and drop 4 of those, and then lose in the first round of the playoffs. And they I was not
surprised at all, because that's Kingsbury's MO. That's what everywhere he coaches.
I was not either. So I am very interested to see what the Cardinals do though this year. But I'm like, I mean, they still have the Rams in their division.
Aren't they going to the Super Bowl because they're hosting it, right?
I'm very excited for that out here. That will be so fun. But yeah, I'm like, hey, they're like, we can play a Super Bowl at home. We'll see. I don't think that's happening, but I think a lot of people out here in the Valley are on that. They would love for that to happen.
Of course. All right. So now I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
All right. Let's go.
I hope you're ready.
I'm ready.
So I picked out, I think, 5 or 6 games from week 1 where the line is right now. I'm just going to get your picks. I'll tell you what I think, and we'll go through them. So the Thursday nighter, we've got the Bills in Los Angeles playing the Rams.
Yes.
The Bills are road favorites, 2.5.
Yes. I'm going to take the points for sure with the Rams in this one. I have never been huge on the Bills. I love Josh Allen. Think he's great. Stephon Diggs, they've got a lot of great guys, great offense, great defense. But I think that the defending Super Bowl champs are just going to come out, and I honestly would sprinkle on the money line. I like the Rams over the Bills here. I don't like when everybody is very hype on a team before the season even starts. And I feel like everybody is on the Bills to win the Super Bowl this year. Everybody liked the Bills last year too, and they didn't go that far. So I'm gonna take the Rams. I say lay the points with the Rams, and I also would sprinkle on the money line.
All right. Well, I'm one of those guys that's really high on the Bills and picking them to win the Super Bowl, but I also live an hour away. So I'm probably going to say Bills by a field goal. So I'm going to go with the Bills. Just to be contrarian. Pittsburgh in Cincinnati. I like division games, but when I see a 6.5 points, you're giving Pittsburgh 6.5 points. Can the Bengals cover at home?
I think so. Definitely, I'm going to take the Bengals here in this one. I think that the Steelers have too many question marks at quarterback. I mean, are you going to go with Kenny Pickett? Are you going to go with Mitch Trubisky?
We're going to go with the Nickelodeon MVP.
I don't know. I think that none of those guys, they don't know yet starting off who's going to produce and who's not going to produce. I'm not super wild on them. Najee Harris also just got injured, so that's not going to look good for them in the running game either. I think the Bengals easily take this. I wouldn't be surprised if that's by more than 2 touchdowns. I'm honestly surprised that the spread's that close.
It actually is. I'm high on the Bengals, and in that game specifically, I have Pittsburgh for the first time in the Mike Tomlin era, finishing below 500.
I do too.
I'm not high on the Steelers this year.
I am not either. I like them under on their wins total. I believe it's set at 7.5 right now. I like them for under. I don't think they're going to do much this year, and I think it'll be the first time ever, like you were saying, that we see Mike Tomlin going below 500.
Yeah, I will say this. I was worried about the Bengals and kind of that, when you lose in the Super Bowl, that loser Super Bowl hangover.
Right.
I like the fight. I like the fight they gave the Rams. I think this is a different kind of team. I don't think we're going to see that huge hangover. The next one, we have last year's worst quarterback in the NFL.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
That'd be Baker Mayfield in his revenge tour against the Browns right off week 1. The Browns are going into Carolina. Carolina are 2-point favorites. Here are two teams that, man, different. Carolina's not a good team, but they have their star running back, we think, back and healthy. Hopefully. Cleveland is a very good roster, but they're missing their quarterback, the most important position.
Of course.
How you pick this one?
I think this one will be very close, personally. I think because of the revenge factor for Baker Mayfield, week 1, like, could you have scripted that any better as the NFL to have him go to the Panthers?
No, it's random. Random.
Right, random. Sure. He goes to the Panthers, and now week 1, he's facing his old team and going to be there with a fan base that I feel like for the most part, they hate him. So I think it will be so close. Gosh, this one is tough. If I'm going on the spread, I think I'm going to, oh gosh, I'm really thinking about this one. I think I'm going to go with the Panthers here to cover at -2. I think they win by a field goal. It's going to be extremely close. It's going to be a fun, exciting game to watch. At least I'm hoping it will be. So I'm gonna take the Panthers slight. That's a game, honestly, I personally probably won't put my own money on because
I'm not betting it. It just the dynamic of Baker
is interesting.
Interesting, which is why I put it on the list. But yes. I think it's like, I think to your point, I think it's a close game. I think it's like a 1-point game. I think it's a low scoring game. So I'm gonna take Cleveland with the points just because, hey, I think
we're going opposite sides. All right, we're duking it out. After that game's over, I'll text you.
You got it. If I'm right, you're gonna get some I told you so's. I save these, so next time that you're on, I'll be like, remember that pick? I won't tell you once I got wrong though. All right, the next one, Green Bay. I told you my pick to win the NFC North, Minnesota. Green Bay in Minnesota. Green Bay 2-point favorites. A lot of road favorites in week 1.
I'm going to go with the Vikings in this one. I think that seems way too close for them to be at home. I think that the Packers end up winning outright, but that point spread seems just way too small. So I'm going to go with the Vikings.
Hold on. You think the Packers are going to win outright?
Oh,
the opposite.
I think opposite. That's what yes. I think that the Vikings could win outright with them being at home. And I'm surprised that the Packers are road favorites at -.
Yes. I knew that's what you meant. And I agree with you 100%. Yes. Again, so give me Minnesota.
I'll go with that.
Minnesota and the points. Again, a team I think is going to win the game. So I'm obviously taking that one. We got one more. We'll do 2 more. One and then we'll do the Monday nighter. I didn't know you were a Cowboys fan.
I am.
So I did. This was here. Coincidence. You got the Tampa Bay Bucks as another road favorite, 1.5 in the house that Jerry built against them boys.
Yeah, this is another. This is a game I will not be putting my own money on. Can you take your
fandom out of this or no?
I never bet. Like, it is very rare for me to bet my team. Like, I
never bet the Bears. They always let me down.
My
if I bet them to win, they lose. If I bet them to lose, they win.
Exactly. It never works out in your.
You know what I might do? So, maybe, what if you did for the Cowboys and I did for the Bears? We bet on the Bears to lose every game. Could they go undefeated?
We'll hope by chance that we fade our own picks in a way, and that the Cowboys and the Bears end up winning instead of losing like we took. I'm not against it. I'm like I think that this will be an interesting game. Obviously, this is basically a rematch of what happened in week 1 last season, and it was very close. And these two teams haven't really changed a whole lot since last year. There aren't a lot of big significant changes to these rosters. Oh, gosh. Oh, God. I hate to say it, but I think I would probably, on the spread, I'm going to take the points of the Bucks as the favorite here. Even though Dallas is at home, I think they're going to be struggling a little bit in these first early weeks without Michael Gallup. CeeDee Lamb's going to have to take on a majority of the catches. Like, he's basically really the only big star we've got at wide receiver right now until Michael Gallup is healthy. I think we're going to rely a lot on the run game. That'll probably, slow things down a bit. I would lean towards the under possibly on this game as well, unless you never know, Tom Brady just comes out slinging, which could be the case.
Well, here's the thing. So you're taking the Bucks -1.5.
Yeah.
You're gonna love this pick then, because I'm taking the boys. I think Tom Brady there's something going on. Like, he took some time off. I know there's some personal things, and
then he retired. He didn't retire.
He retired. I know Chris Godwin's not going to be in the lineup. Listen, Mike Evans and Julio Jones, they're fine offensively. I just think the team takes. Maybe I'm just putting too much into Tom Brady's age and thinking his motor needs a couple of weeks to warm up, maybe. So I'm gonna go with the Cowboys in a shocker.
Okay. I hope you are right, and I hope I am wrong.
I thought you might be. All right, last one. Denver. Again, interesting how the schedule panned out. So Denver going to Seattle. Denver going to Seattle. Russell facing his old team. Denver is -6.5. I think it could be 60.5, and I still might pick Denver.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give me the Broncos all day on this one. They easily cover that. The Seahawks have nothing in the tank. You're gonna go with Geno Smith as your starting quarterback.
That really surprised me.
He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's just not. I'm like, they'd be better off with Pete Carroll starting at quarterback, in my opinion. I'm definitely going to lay the points here with the Broncos and put my faith in Russell Wilson. I think that Denver takes this one by a landslide to the Seahawks.
You can't argue that. I've got Denver by a whole bunch. So Denver 6.5 point favorites. We're both taking them. Give Seattle 20 points. I still think they lose.
Exactly. Like, give them over 2 touchdowns. I'm still taking the Broncos.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So those are your bets, your prop bets. We had baseball, we have football futures. We gave you some picks. You can find Taylor Mathis at TMath Sports. Sportsbook is the place to go put your bets, but also Fantasy Television Network and the Fan Radio New York.
Yes. Yeah. A new show through NFL season will be with the Fantasy Television Network every Friday.
What are you doing? Yeah. Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah. 5 p.m. Eastern. It will be strictly a betting show. So we'll be talking everything NFL betting for this season. I will, of course, be focusing on props going into the weekend. I will touch on sides and totals as well, but of course, sticking to my props. And then with the Fan, I will be on, it looks like every Wednesday night heading into Thursday Night Football to give out my favorite props for the weekend ahead, as well as also we're going to kind of do an around the league type of bit where we just kind of give our quick picks on who we would take straight up to win games throughout that week. So that'll be really fun too. That'll be on New York's The Fan and then Fantasy Television Network. And then, of course, all my content, and use Superbook Sports over here to place your bets as well throughout the NFL season and postseason baseball coming up.
And all of that, we're going to talk baseball, basketball, and football, because we're going to have you back on Crunching the Numbers here on the Fired Up Network. Until next time, now you're more fluent.